The station with the best music. Best music.
I love music.
Best music. Your station. Your music.
Mr. Zuma, the fact that you took a shower after having unprotected sex with an HIV-positive woman, believing that it would minimize your risk, has really angered AIDS activists. What is your response to their criticism?
But if we have been in the kitchen, my dear, peeling onion, you wash your hands also. What was funny about washing your hands after doing something, after washing yourself? What's the problem?
But Mr. Zuma, AIDS is a big problem in this country. And saying things like
And
taking a shower.
Hygiene is a big problem in this country. Clean yourself.
Tshwane FM 93.6, Cap City's #1 radio station.
What if you get a president Facebook book and ask the never mix it, there is Haganza. And why do I want to get President Obama and that's why I said you robot again. I am from Pune. Hey, yellow, I need to get Takano, Marwa,
Capital Breakfast
on Tshwane FM.
Monday to Friday, 6 till 9 a.m. Hashtag rise to the morning. Wrap your ears around 93.6.
Hey, Kendi, how are you? I'm great. Are you ready for us? Are you ready for us? Okay. Just stay on the line. We'll just jump in after this current song. Yeah?
Look across the island into the bay. We are all islands till comes the day we cross the burning water. Munanga, a seagull wings across the sea. Broken silence is what I dream. Who has the words to close the distance to you and me? I say, Stephen Biko. Bonanga, bonanga, mfowethu thina lapha kuna la wafela khona Victoria Mxenge. Bonanga, bonanga, uthathi wethu thina lapha kuna la wafela khona. Bonanga, bonanga, mfowethu thina lapha kuna la wafela khona. Awuthi hey wena, hey wena, hey wena, hey wena nawe sofika nini la siyakuna, la siyakuna.
Minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock. It's a great evening, and thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Monday evening, man. We are the Capital Talk right here on Tshwane FM 93.6. It is the station that continues to rock you most. It's songs of Rex Rabanye in the background. It's a song titled Unketsang. Before that, we played you interesting music. It is South African music, man. You better believe it. We are in the Heritage Month. Just starting up the show with a song by Zonke. It's titled Feelings. And after that, we had something by Zola. It's a song titled Somlinda Ngengoma. And we came through with Zahara. It's a song titled Loliwe. And we came through with Sarafina Safa Sapeli Sizwe and Chiluga. That's Asimbona Mandela. And this is where we are. I see some of the comments that are coming through on our social media platforms. Uqina Mla has already started requesting a song by Casper Nyoves that is titled Bonginkosi. Definitely coming through for you, Qina. If you want a song as well, just like Qina, you can just hit us up on Facebook. We're coming through to you live at this one, Space FM, Space 93.6. Otherwise, if you go on YouTube, man, and just check the coolest guy in the action, that is Mokete Radebe, you'll definitely find me there. Otherwise, we're coming through to you guys on Iono through the student shop, and thank you so much for joining us on that platform. Before I get to the first guest for today, I see there's just so many things that are making headlines, and particularly on Twitter, I see Portia M is trending. Nigerians must go is trending, and just below that is human trafficking must go. I think there's just been a lot regarding that, and we're just taking a snippet in terms of what exactly is happening there. But do remember to stay tuned for our interesting interview today with Mr Nkululeko from the TUTEH Enterprise Holdings to speak to us about third stream income for institutions of higher learning. A very interesting interview that is coming through at that point in time. On the line, we're joined by Aus Kendi Mosidi to speak to us at this point in time. Kendi, how are you? Kendi, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, man. Why God we are still, left in the weekend?
Sorry?
I'm saying you are still in the weekend, man. How are you? Are you proper?
I'm great. I'm awesome. I'm great. And you?
We're awesome, man. We're awesome. We're the Capital Talk, so we are forever, on top of the capital. Great weekend. How was your weekend? Tell us about your weekend before we get into the motivation corner.
I was actually working, trying to push. I was working, but it was a nice weekend. Nice weekend, indeed.
Awesomeness. So, what do we have for us today?
Look, it's Monday. We all have our issues from a weekend. We are starting a week. Nothing much. It's just that motivation is like brushing your teeth. You need that push to just move on and just do something great and all that. I picked up something great this past weekend.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The speaker that said the world owes you nothing. And it was interesting that listen, no one owes you anything. You owe it to yourself, and just do it. Whatever they've been planning, whatever you've been planning to do it. No one owes you anything. So I said, so this Monday I'm not gonna go deeper and say anything else. I'm just gonna say, let's just do it. Let's just use these Mondays today and say we're gonna push. By Friday I need to at least have done something, even if it's an assignment, whatever that you need to reach, and you're just going to push and do it. You're not going to look back and say, no, I'm not worthy, hey, this has happened. That's not where you're going. We look forward and we keep on pushing. This is a Pusher Monday, and I'm saying to your listeners, let's just do it. No one owes us anything. We owe it to ourselves. We are going to be accountable, and we are just going to do this thing.
Interesting. 33 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock. This is the Capital Talk right on Tshwane FM 93.6. Just a quick one, Kendi. We are obviously in the semi-last quarter of the year, and a lot of people are definitely despondent. What do you think makes us to be despondent during this period of the year, especially, looking at the fact that we're from, a deadlock, COVID-19? What do you think are some of the elements that would lead us to, to be complacent during this period?
Now that we are going towards the end of the year.
Yeah, correct.
Look, I don't take these praises quite well. The end of the year, I'm saying, but those that are celebrating it, I'm saying, let us take this time, this period to look back and embrace the things that we have achieved, as small as they are. Let us just embrace ourselves and say 2020 has been a hectic year for everyone, for the world, not only us. So we just look back and we look for the good that has happened in this 2020, and we acknowledge that it was not in our hands. It was something that was happening, and we did not have control over it.
And just if I'm listening now to the show, what sort of daily routine do you think I should adopt just specifically for this week to go by for this week? What would be sort of your motto that you can prescribe for me?
We can adopt to a lot of daily routines. One would be I've ever since I've done my affirmation days, tell yourself how good you are. I always tell you that telling yourself that you're good, make it a habit. Maybe one day we should talk lengthily about the power of the conscious and the subconscious mind, and how to make your subconscious to start attracting good things. It's a journey. It doesn't start. It starts with you saying it out loud and telling yourself that you are good. You manifest the things, visualize them, and after you visualize them, your mind, the universe, starts helping you to attract them. So it's a process. So you can start this. You can use that now. When you go to bed, give yourself a moment and look in the day and acknowledge yourself. Give yourself a cheer up and say, I've done this today. Even if you did not achieve something, but you move it to the next day, and you do it on a daily basis. Every morning, look up to a good day. I'm thinking that we should have a proper session where we will give you headlines on how to influence your subconscious.
Interesting. 36 minutes have gone since the hour 6 o'clock. That is Kendi Musidi speaking to us. Kendi, thank you so much for speaking to us tonight.
Thank you.
May you have a great one.
Thank you.
Awesomeness.
Thank you.
Hey, tada. Tshwane, 36 minutes have gone since the hour 6 o'clock, and slowly edging to our interview for today. Remember, our main interview today, we're speaking to Mr Nkululeko Berthwell. He's a communications manager at the TUTEH, or the Tshwane University of Technology's, enterprise holding, where he's going to speak to us about, the prospects of, third stream income for institutions of higher learning. He's going to tell us how they are doing things in that space. Remember, on 0123824936, that's where you can use a WhatsApp call. Remember, we won't be taking direct calls, but we'll be taking WhatsApp calls. It's either a voice notes or WhatsApp calls. Alternatively, you can just give us a call on 083, that is 208 and 8851. We're checking some of those calls there. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we play more music for you and yours, and we edge closer to Mr. Maphanga's interview.
Log room 912.
Good morning, my favorite lady, Lena.
Hi, how are you?
How are you, my love?
Oh, good thing.
Oh, yes. You make me to get the time like I must lose myself to room 912 because of your voice.
Oh, wow, thank you. We must continue. How's your day?
So good. Just let me hear your beautiful voice. Oh, man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, friend, I'm not guy, man. It's not everyone who is alive on there. The language is like you.
You go for it. Why was it well over it?
Man, come and visit me. That is so much.
Room 912. Weekdays on Tshwane FM 101.6.
Yo, what up, your boy Questa, the car, good boy, your day one, K1 representative, and we out here. You tuning into Tshwane FM, brother. Mind out. Wait, where you going? Where you going? Still right there. Turn it back.
Don't you know I got a lot on my corner and I'm never alone. You've been gone too long, Gulu, I really come home. I know you think over, but it's saying, baby, come over. You can't do what you want, you Lusana. You can't do what you want, you Satandwa. I ain't going nowhere, baby. I ain't going nowhere, baby. And don't you know I got the Lord on my side? You keep me safe and keep the love on my life. And every time I feel like giving up, you show up and you lift me up. It's something that I cannot describe. So divine. I know he loves me. I know that because he hugs me. Every time it gets hard, I just open my heart and I know that he got me. Yeah. Like if I like it, if not, if you want my heart behind me. Even when it gets hard and I don't feel like being alive, but a party.
Hola. Hey, Cha. Are you ready for us?
You know, some of the churches,
I was ready before you were born.
Yeah, no, stay on the line.
nothing to do with your education, Bujisha. Bujisha. Boy, since it was 1909, 1910, long before I was born, Saulo, yeah, 1916, Bujisha. Olisiala. Yeah, 1928. Ahole. Olisiala. Mandela ba motshware ba boya. Saulo. Olisiala. Walibele ke 2015. Bacha ba le yopela ba e hama. Raba Saulo.
The best.
Tshwane FM 93.6.
You.
Single leg, all a single leg, all a single leg, all a single leg.
Wrap your ears around 93.6.
The couple, DJ14, Mesh on the ground, Divine Lopez, Just King, DJ Swiss, DJ Kassan, somebody. This is my bedtime. This is the Panova, listening to Tshwane FM on 93.6.
"46 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock. It's a great evening once more. If you just jumped in, thank you so much for your listening pleasure. And just news that are making headlines, the Western Cape Judge President, that is Judge John Sharp, has called for a judicial commission of inquiry to get to the bottom of allegations against him. Now, this after the Judicial Services Commission compiled a report following investigation into an alleged plot to assassinate Deputy Judge President Patricia Goliath. Judge Lopez's lawyer, Barnabas Tulu, said the timeline of events on the 1st of September and only a day after alleged informants were interviewed at the Pietermaritzburg prison. Tulu indicates that 3 days later, questions were sent to the office of the Chief Justice and that they were asking whether the office was aware of these allegations. He said that no formal report that was provided to the office of the Chief Justice as it stands. Furthermore, a man accused of raping a woman at a COVID-19 quarantine facility in Mossel Bay has made a brief appearance in court. Clinton Hendrick, it's a man that has been remanded in custody for the incident which allegedly happened on Friday. The 20-year-old victim was being kept in isolation at the temporary facility, but it turns out she was not safe and the woman was raped at the facility, allegedly by an employee. The Provincial Transport and Public Works Department said Hendrick works for a cleaning company at the site and the case against him has been postponed until the 21st for a bail application. Meanwhile, it appears that the Labour Register, Lehlohonolo Molefe, says that there was sufficient evidence that the South African Medical Association, better known as SAMA, had been operating and benefiting financially from its registration of the South African Medical Association Trade Union, that is better known as SAMATU. Now, this is contained in an affidavit where Molefe filed in one of the many court battles that the administrator appointed to investigate the running of the trade union and the medical association. The administrator wants SAMA liquidated, saying it owed the trade union close to around 400 million in membership fees alone, but the medical association is fighting to hold on to SAMTU's assets and arguing it never intended to register it as a union, but rather as a professional body for doctors. And lastly, it appears that the Democratic Alliance has now called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to immediately release a report on the Air Force jet used by members of the African National Congress to visit Zimbabwe. Now, the governing party has been accused of abusing state resources. This is after a delegation led by its Secretary General, Mr. Ismail Khashule, touched down in Harare last week for a meeting with ZANU-PF counterparts. It's understood that the trip coincided with a planned official visit by Defense Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula, while Ramaphosa has asked the minister for a full report on the use of the Army's aircraft, which she was expected to hand over today. Now, the DA said the report should be released for public and parliamentary scrutiny in the interest of transparency. However, Shadow Minister of Defense, that is Cobus Marais, says that there's no doubt that there was a serious abuse of power, a serious blurring of lines between party and state. The president has made a promise to them by entering into a contract with the nation that he will stop corruption and abuse of state affairs and money. So I want to continue in terms of more news and more analysis. We're now moving to our interesting discussion with Mr. Nkululeko Berthwell. Now, looking at just analysis and opinions, especially in terms of higher education and the likes. Mr. Maphanga will be speaking to us about that. Now, there's an interesting opinion, and this one is by Nkosi Duma. He says, unequal universities are a microcosm of SA's society. And he says at university, some of the smartest people he has met were originally from rural and peripheral areas and had gone to schools there. And many were shy, but also just citing the fact that in terms of SRCs and the lack of funds, those are things that have helped students to better gain their experience, or rather, better gain their confidence, especially when they fight in the job market. But a further glimpse into higher education reminds us that there's institutions like the Tshwane University of Technology or Vaal University of Technology that are known as the former poor institutions of higher learning. And for those universities to match up the standard of what we know as traditional universities, there's definitely a need of financial stability, or rather a need for what we call a third stream income for those universities to be able to also do things that other traditional universities are able to do. I know that Wits is among those universities that are leading in terms of third stream income, and obviously they've been in the business quite long. If you look at universities like TUTEH, barely 20 years in existence. But Mr. Nkululeko Berthwell, who's a communications manager at the TUTEH Enterprise Holdings, is going to speak to us tonight. Berthwell, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening to you, Mokete. Good evening to the listeners. Good evening to the Tshwane University of Technology, all stakeholders. And then good evening to myself as well. Thank you.
Interesting. Just before I jump into this one with you, Tshwane, I just want to bring a highlight. I know that we had promised you guys that you can actually interact with us on 012-382-4936. That WhatsApp line is unable to give us a feed. We really apologize for that. However, please send us text on 082-538-5810, and you can always give us a call on 083-208-8851, and that number will be working only for today's interview. Post this interview, it won't be working for anything else. Thank you so much. You can just give us calls when you open the lines finally for the engagement with our guest for today. Mr. Maphanga, I understand that you are from the TUTEH Enterprise Holding, but before we get into that, I want you to sort of give us a foundation in terms of when we speak about third stream income, especially in institutions of higher learning, what exactly are we talking about? And especially in the context of universities that are known to be former institutions of higher learning.
Thank you very much, Mokete. I shall begin by saying we have various streams of income from health universities. The first stream of income will be your subsidies from government, and then your second stream income back then before it was kept. I'll come to that part. Which was your tuition fees. And then you then have your third stream income. Those are commercial incomes that you best generate through commercial activities. And we then also turn a fourth stream income, that is donation, philanthropic donations. So we sort of separated, but that was also guided by literature, because donation as well as commercial personal income, those are two different things. So having said that, Mokete, I would then like to begin and also, of course, acknowledge how we have tackled the topic for today, the birth of TUTEH. I must also appreciate that I could tell that there are people who are hoping to see me live, and unfortunately I'm joining you from my phone, and unfortunately I'm in Bombela because we have work to do in Bombela. When we launched, I'm getting you were there, when we launched time last year, one of the profound statements and acknowledgement that we have made in thanking the Vice Chancellor of Pastor, we gave him a name called Siabon. I sort of authored that particular name because when I look back, I then realized that, sometimes you need to acknowledge people while they're still alive, so as to ensure that their contribution should not necessarily go unnoticed. In 2015, the VC returned after a national duty at Wusu in 2014 August, and then later on was then appointed the acting vice chancellor shortly after the departure of Tshwane. And then in 2015, the VC developed what we call the turnaround strategy of the Tshwane investor technology. That is the very same strategy that highlighted key things. Among those things that highlighted by the VC was the financial trajectory of the university. If we have continued in that path, by now we should have closed shops. And that is not a threat. We have seen other institutions that we have not necessarily mentioned having closed shop literally, and some of them have been swimming on beds and struggling to come out. And then that's what then the VC highlighted in this current strategy. And then culminated from that is the VC together with the CFO in developing the financial growth plan together with the resource allocation. So as to ensure that we reprioritize our resources, the needs that we have, we reprioritize in ensuring that we achieve our objectives, teaching and learning. And then we know that the committee of council at that time that was responsible for that is the Finance, Planning, Capital and Resource Committee, they call it PRC. It is chaired, the then chairperson of that particular committee. I always make a joke about this thing. Is that having looked at what has been termed and presented to him in the resource allocation plan, at that time he was Switzerland in a business meeting because it's also part of the BBC. He then wrote an email to the university councils and said, guys, we need to establish a legal entity fit for purpose to commercialize some of the aspects of the institution and generate income. Other than that, we are going to close shops. Fast forward to that in Kitty, it's when the fees must fall takes over, which then makes it even further less. Because the fees must fall then resulted into a tuition cap, whereby there was no more fee increment. Fee increment in the university was last seen, I think, in 2014. That's when we speak and discuss fees. But from then, after the fees was there was never a fee increment. So which means the second stream income of the institution now has been nullified. So that then talks to the dwindling of the higher education sector. The VC will then make a quote of the higher education enterprise centers on the expensiveness and the commodity of higher education and the education in general. Now, when you look at what the investors receive from government and what is expected of them to run the operations and recruit the best, and further ensure that the cutting-edge technology, the what you call the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic actually has proven to us that we need more resources in the higher education sector. Unfortunately, the government may not necessarily have that sufficient. So that's what led actually into the death of the institution. And all of those steps that I highlighted in PT were approved by council in 2017. Now, when the council approved that, at the time they've already developed a business plan that had followed a steering committee which was chaired by the then deputy chairperson of council, Mr Nkululeko Berthwell. And then the VC having re-established the BDU. You'd appreciate that the BDU once existed in the university, the Business Development Unit, under George Mashabela, the then DVC FPD. It was led by President Mokete. I'm giving history now and content of the university, so I'm producing a DNA. So then that was discontinued. Then the VC at the time was an MD of the TUTEH 101, and the TUTEH 102 continuing education at the PVC teaching, and then before we left to So when we came back, then we re-established that PDU, and it was led by Mr. Malifani. And then that's when, together with the steering committee of council, led by the deputy chairperson of council, Mr. Nkululeko Berthwell, developed a business case which was also approved by council. That was approval was in September 2017. So we have spent the whole year of 2018 putting things together registration of the entity, and also putting together the interim board, which was led by the VP at the time. And then we developed, and then we registered a particular entity, and then we appointed the CEO, then Mr. Mokete, who has led the steering committee to be the CEO that was appointed by the board, the interim board at the time. And then we put in a substantive board that was done by councils. So now we are compliant with legislation together with what is expected of us by the Companies Act as an entity.
And just maybe in terms of, allow me to jump in there. It's 7 o'clock on top of the hour, and obviously just post this discussion, I will be opening up for your questions. Just on the issue of, just because just listening to you, I'm now able to sort of comprehend how big this project was in terms of its establishment, and knowing the fact that TUT is a very, fairly young university, in its origin. So in terms of, how you guys established it, what informed it? Did you guys have a benchmark with other institutions? So what sort of, information, sort of assisted you to structure it in a manner in which that you guys have started it?
Yes, of course, there was benchmark that was done in the PwC report on higher education institutions' personal income, as well as their performance. It illustrates as to which institution is working well and which institution is working well. But also understanding the nature of TUT.
Yeah.
Apart from it being a unity, it required at the time a collective stakeholder engagement.
Yeah.
On what type of an entity we are looking for. We couldn't have just done what UP, Stellenbosch, and others have done. They are different from us. So obviously, ours, we then look into what they are doing, look at the best practice, not only inside the country, but even international. There's high level of research done. I will get to the point of the business model to demonstrate how intensive we have gone in terms of consultation and sort of benchmarking on the supplement. We've done an intensive benchmarking, but cascading it down to the TUT context with its dynamic, it required a whole lot of engagement. And I'm glad that at eventuality we are able then to come up with that supplement and epic, which we are asking us for.
Yeah, just on that, just on terms of sort of engagement and consultation, given the complex nature of a university like TUT, you guys have got a footprint in 3 provinces, and you've got about 7 learning sites. In terms of consultation, how involved was the internal stakeholders of the university in this, in this project? I would assume this is something that everyone would want to appreciate, especially looking at the long-term impact of it. If you're speaking about the fact that the university was going to close to closing shop, that is something massive. So how inclusive was the consultation in terms of the vast majority of the internal stakeholders?
The consultation has touched quite a lot of people actually across campuses. You would appreciate that this process, as I indicated before, it has been solely driven by the EMC and council committees and subcommittees. I've made mention to you, your FPRC, your council, because these where matters of resource planning allocation are taking place. The VC has led these ideas for the term strategy level, even at Senate, at IF, has led this particular term strategy level. If you recall very well, upon the return of the executive vice chancellor and the leading of the then chair of council, you began to see very unique approach in issuing, in managing and running the institution. You'd recall that the VC has done couple of stakeholder consultation, team meeting, campus meeting, parents meeting, all campuses they visited. It also shows that indeed the consultation and all of those things, that is where the terror strategy was tabled to the people, the input was late, you have seen now the newly appointed chair of council together with the VP have undertaken a tour across all campuses before the return or the resumption of the academic activity to engage stakeholders, to engage staff, to engage number of people to get to understand the feel of what is happening on the ground, the frustration, so they can be able then to conceptualize solutions towards that. So that process was undertook, and that particular process was well received. That is why you even hear people saying the concept of the TUTEH enterprise was correct. However, there are slight concerns about a modus operandi. So that's why we came out today. We realized that there's a misunderstanding, or there's a lack of knowledge about a modus operandi. So that's why we came out today. We realized that there's a misunderstanding, or there's a lack of knowledge to clarify, not necessarily to clarify, but to educate broadly, so that people get to understand where we're coming from.
And in terms of misunderstandings, what do you think sort of prompted these misunderstandings, and perhaps in what aspects of this concept do you think people are actually sort of misunderstanding its purpose in your understanding personally?
Yeah, well, that is what we came here to do today. In all honesty, I believe. Because as a stakeholder manager of the Tshwane Investor Enterprise Holding, I don't manage what I don't know. That's what stakeholders do. So I now know what the issues, I now know what the misunderstanding, the misperception, as well as the lack of knowledge that our people are suffering, so that we are coming out here to give those particular education, to give those particular clarities. One of the things that prompted the misunderstanding, I think, is a very same question that we have asked as to what benchmark was done. And then I clarified that particular matter. And I thought we clarified it before. I think we have been in a much better position now, because we are then expected to behave like thugs. We are then expected to behave like Stellenbosch. We are then expected to behave like, you know what I mean? That is why I wanted to clarify that point. When it comes to what the University Council has resolved in the steering committee document together with the business case, two things before we run out of that I need to highlight. Contained in the steering committee resolutions for the business case were the following key things. We are among them, but the key one was that we need to establish a fit for purpose legal entity, the TUTEH enterprise by now. Secondary to that, is very important. I think we need to make emphasis on that. Then the Investor Council says it shall be a startup company. Now, I'll come back a little bit to clarify or discuss a startup. It shall be a startup company and leverage on institutional resources or on institutional assets to make or to generate revenue. Now, this is where the difference with any other institution or legal entity of other universities comes from. So that's our distinction. What do we mean by a startup company? It's what happened with TUTEH enterprise. That is why we spent the whole 2018 putting together 15 structures, legal documents, because it was zero data. There was nothing. We started anything from nowhere. There was nothing. We never knew what was the posture. Where are we going? What must we do? Etc. etc. But what we were told is that we must leverage on the institutional asset and generate revenue. Now, when you sit back, and I pose you a question to say, what is the institutional asset to you? And that's where the question is. Now, we say we are a number one investor technology in the continent and the country. We said we are the largest physical contact university in this country and the continent broadly. What then becomes our strength? Then our strength becomes our numbers, our geographical locations and spread, where we have footprint. So we're the largest contact institution in this particular country. That's what then becomes our strength. And that is why student accommodation business or student accommodation as a unit is one of the most important aspects of the institution, not only on revenue generation, but also on solution-oriented care. protests in the university, in the main, are caused by student accommodation issues. If you trace back from 2016, 2014, 2015, these were our burning issues. You've never had a memorandum submitted to management without student accommodation. It was a concern. So if it's a concern to us in terms of practice, then it means business to the business world. So those are things that we need to understand. When we then misconstrued and we thought we are a student accommodation business, we're not a student accommodation business. Student accommodation is just a job in the entire value chain of the TUTEH enterprise. So that's where I was coming from.
Permit me to just, I'm gonna from time to time interject there, because obviously you're raising points of interest right there. Before I request you to sort of outline some of the other units, business units, that you guys are definitely pursuing in this TUTEH Enterprise Holdings. Fundamentally, looking at in the past few years, there's been quite enough things that are happening, especially to young children, or rather to students that are not residing in universities. I mean, you look at now the wave of human trafficking, and you could imagine if students were not to stay in a conducive environment for teaching and learning. The other important element that I want you to just keep at the back of your mind is that also listening to the show now, it's other people that have got an interest in terms of copying what TUTEH is doing, and I want us to from time to time sort of share the knowledge that TUTEH has thus far with regards to what they've started. Now, one important one is student accommodation is not necessarily an easy task, and that is why I think a lot of universities across South Africa are struggling with that. Now, in the case of TUTEH, especially in how you guys have coined it at this point in time, a preview in terms of in what context have you guys sort of faced, the student accommodation unit, and just briefly to anyone at home that would also want to sort of, or maybe if there's another university listening now that would want to sort of jump into it and master it as well. So if you were to just give us a preface, how did you guys manage it, or maybe how are you guys managing it?
Maybe we are managing it perfectly very well. We're not putting our own home, but I think our listeners, our colleagues, our stakeholders will tell that with us, we are managing it very well. We have delivered successful charter back to 3,000 days in the university. We are the first university to do that successfully. And we are not only delivering things. We're not only delivering innovation as a matter of human dignity. Yeah. We said if our kids cannot stay in a particular residency, therefore no one else should stay. Therefore, we're taking it very seriously. Our landlords listening to us now will tell you that we have now given a task to turn and change the atmosphere of the student accommodation in this particular country. And we have challenged a number of people, and we must also applaud the number of people who has come forth in this particular circumstances. That's what we have been doing, Mokete. The JV Equity, we were put together there by the CEO, the TUTEH Enterprise, and also the property portfolio manager, Mr. Aram Mohajwa. Very profound. We have moved away from the triple model, and then we introduced the JV Equity model. Of course, there are criticisms that are there. We acknowledge, we take acknowledgement of that. We are going to learn and build out of that. Remember, any model that we are bringing, we are testing it on the ground. It will never be perfect, but we are going to work for it to be perfect. And it's a very, very new model. Everybody has been approved by a number of stakeholders. Other people, landlords, are very happy with that particular model. Of course, there are shortcomings there and there, but we believe that we are going to work out those particular shortcomings and then be able then to deal. What does it mean, the JV Equity model? Let me take you back on the equity model and why it has failed. All right. Yeah. In 2020, they attempted to advertise for a triple P or student accommodation. It could not go anywhere that particular process was failed. Subsequent to that, the higher education department or ministry has hosted a student accommodation summit at PUT. Addressed by the DG, they look into the loopholes, the shortcomings. It could not work. Why was the problem? Because in essence, the triple P model says, we build up the student, that's the landlords. We build the student accommodation We recoup our investment for over 20 years, then we give you a deluxe sort of building where we are going to struggle to maintain that particular building, like any other of our buildings that we're struggling to maintain internally as university owned. So that's what the triple model says. However, the JB equity model says we incur that risk, we go together, we benefit together. So the university benefits from the word goals in moving forward with that particular model. But why it's so important of us as a TUTE enterprise to then be part of the JB equity model? Our interest is simple. We now want to manage and coordinate what everyone would love to be in. You could not control that if you are from outside. Obviously, you would not be listening, or your voice will be minimal. So we are part of the journey. We said our students would love this, our students want this, and our students deserve this. That's what they're saying in the equity structures. So it's not necessarily moved at the level of profit generation, etc. There's nothing, there's no money there. We talk to 5 to 10%. There are profit margins if you understand the property finance on how you measure the profit margins in that particular thing. There's nothing there. And right now, when I'm looking at it from a layman point of view, that you've got 1,000 paid at 3.5 per students, now you've got that excess amount of money. You forget that there are quite a lot of costs that are included into your particular thing. So we don't necessarily quantify that, but we're looking at from a layman point of view. So that is our interest in the main.
No. Yeah.
That is why we are bringing in innovative platforms such as your TUTEH to enhance the student accommodation. It shall be user-friendly. We are saying goodbye to the queues. That is the solution that we are bringing. We have seen how our students have suffered the queues. We've seen people that push it out. You know, our students back in the day, the queues we have experienced in universities were not necessarily for states in the main, but they're student accommodation queues. Because others got a space and they must get accommodation. And that's where the queues are, which also led into a tragic moment at the University of Tshwane. We do not want that.
Yeah.
And if it's not addressed, it will continue. So we do not want that. So now we want it at the time of your hand. When you are sitting at home, you should be able to have your student accommodation. We are going to actually transition to a point where you even through the app indicate what you want to see in that particular room. And when you get halal, that's what you're going to get. So that's what we are pushing in terms of our involvement in the student accommodation. But we wouldn't have been doing that if we are now taking a backseat and providing aids. We're not providing aids. We are a business entity of the institution, and one of the most important things of business is not profit. Yes, it's profit at the end of the day, but it's solution orientation. It's solution driven. If you don't provide solution as a business, then you're not a business at all. So that's where we are.
Interesting. Let me just... Interesting. It's 18 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock. Tshwane, if you just jumped in, this is the Capital Talk. On the line, we're speaking to Mr Nkululeko Berthwell. He's the communications manager of the TUTE Enterprise Holdings. He's speaking to us about third stream income and particularly about the newly established TUTE Enterprise Holdings, and in terms of how they established it, its core mandate, and sort of what change is it bringing in the lives of students. Mr. Berthwell, two things. The long-term impact of this model that you guys have brought in, where you are in partnership with the facility owners. What is the long-term impact of it for institutions? To what extent are you guys still going to be able to sort of play that same role even in the future? That's number one. And secondly, and I don't want us to dwell on student accommodation, because that's not what the interview is all about. But I know that is something that is of an interest to students. In terms of capacity, how many students have you guys managed to cover thus far in?
Our objective, Mokete, is that there is no student in the Tshwane University of Technology who needs student accommodation and would afford student accommodation and not get student accommodation. That's our objective. And so far, we've done pretty well on that. We believe that there are a couple of students who still need accommodation, and we've covered that. And effectively, that's our turnaround time. We provide those particular solutions within a very short period of time, because we are an entity that is purposefully looking into that. So there's no mixed masalas. So we're dealing with that. We've got a dedicated team that looks at the accreditation model. We've got a dedicated team that looks into your overall TUTEH enhancement process and platform that ensures that our students are able then to log in and find accommodation. We have listed for the first time in the history of the institution all the accredited facilities on the website. So the students is able then to log in and see where is this building, how it looks like, where is the direction, how far is it from campus. You know, those are the things that are very important for students to then make a decision on where they want to stay. The amenities, the clinics, the sporting facilities, etc., etc. So the things that are there in the website, students are able then to see and make their informed decision. So we have looked into that. Of course, the long-term impact on that is that for as long as our students are there in universities and looking for accommodation, they must find decent accommodation. And that's what our existence is all about. But not only on the student accommodation, like we have said, I like the fact that we need to move out of the student accommodation. We can talk about other focal areas that we have established and some of them are establishing. So as to ensure that we are not only a student accommodation. By the way, the student accommodation emanated from the property company. So it's a subsidiary of the TUTEH Enterprise Holding. So it's a property company.
Yeah.
So the student accommodation is just a feeder into that. We're looking onto the real estate environment, that pop-up in general, we're looking onto construction and building. In the near future, we're engaging with the architects division of the university to establish an entity that will also look onto sort of giving back to the students. You know, you'd ask yourself the question in Mokete too. Why are our students who have been graduated struggle, some of them with work integrated learning and sort of things that makes them to graduate? While in the university's lives, we are building every day, construction every day, there's these services every day, etc. Where are our students? Why are they placed in those particular structures? So we're looking onto that. That's part of leveraging on institutional aspects. Those are institutional aspects. And we must be able then to set up those particular platforms to assist our students. So in no time we will have that particular architectural company that will look into, and we also encourage the university to look into trusting the entity that they have established in the TUTEH Enterprise. But in the university company, it's not going anywhere. It must be trusted where their clarity should provide for that clarity. Just to come in then to then highlight some of the key focal areas that we are offering.
Before you go to those focal points, just one point on the property, and maybe this will just apply as well to the other focal points that you're going to mention. Is your focus on only providing service for TUT, or TUT is just your first point of departure? You'll be sort of looking at providing these services to other institutions, whether colleges or other institutions that are really battling with student accommodation.
Yeah, one of the things that we could not get into, because we have been suggested quite a lot, is the fact that one of our business models that we've adopted is a network orchestration business model. It has already enacted from the 4 dominant business models in the world, which is asset building, service provider, technology creators, and network orchestrator. The CEO has undergone a very serious research here. We look into the literature, look into the performance of those particular models, and then of course we found the network orchestration as one of the best suited and suitable for the TUTEH Enterprise. So what we do, we orchestrate for value co-creation. So we bring together all the interested groupings and all parties and stakeholders. So in essence, we do not really encourage competition, we don't compete. We'd love to work together with everyone. And indeed, we are looking to provide that particular solution. That is why we said, let us be criticized on our model. Let's take our model out there. It's unfortunately because of COVID-19 and all of these things, an article would have been written by now through the CEO and some of the service providers or landlords that we have partnered with and other institutions of government. So as to ensure that we put all our ideas in paper, let's criticize them. And then when we are criticized, we will take those criticisms constructively and then work out a solution for this country and then submit it to the Minister of Education for all other universities to look into what we're doing. And then that's what we are trying to provide a solution for. in this particular country. So we are open for engagement. We have collaborated with a couple of institutions or other focal areas. I will share with you now when we get to that. We have collaborated with service providers. So we are a collaborative army as a TUTEH enterprise of all the interested stakeholders within our sector. So yes, indeed, to answer a question directly on that, we are looking forward to provide those particular solutions. But we must also mindful of the fact that the content and the theory in which we have brought will then be changing based on the environment of those other institutions. But the content of the ideas will remain the same. So we are looking forward to those particular collaborative initiatives.
Interesting. 25 minutes after 7 o'clock. You're still on the Capital Talk, right on Tshwane FM 93.6. And definitely we're coming through to you live on YouTube. If you check Mokete Radebe, that's where you can find me there. Otherwise, do check Tshwane space FM space 93.6 on Facebook. And on Twitter, we are at Tshwane FM, and Instagram is Tshwane FM_official. And we are speaking at the moment with Mr Nkululeko Berthwell. He's the communications manager at the TUTEH Enterprise Holding. Mr. Berthwell, I see time is running up, but I want you to jump into the other legs or the other focal points that the enterprise will be looking into. And as you presented to us, that property, management, or rather the student accommodation part is but just a part of what you guys are doing. Just take us through some of the other, focal points that you guys are having a foot in.
Yes, thank you very much, Mokete. I was hoping by now, having said so much, we would have a call or two for clarity second question. So I take it our colleagues and stakeholders are following what you are saying, and then clarity is at best.
No, I think calls will come just after 7:30. We'll definitely open for them.
Oh, okay, no, thank you very much. We have what we call continuing professional development. That's where the subsidiary Tshwane Institute for Continuing Education is. We are there responsible for the short learning programs, educational events. More importantly also on that is the need identification and analysis. And we have gone all out in this country. Government entities, private sector, they love that particular concept. They love that particular ideas. That's what we have been doing of late. So we don't wait for people to come to us. We go to them. We do the need analysis, identification analysis in their environment, municipalities, mines, etc. We are performing that particular. We have signed a couple of MOUs. We have been training people in those particular fields. Unfortunately, COVID took place, and then we had to take slow. So that's the continuing professional education exercise. And we've got legacy businesses. Legacy businesses, they are related revenue. All other activities in the university, legacy businesses. You know very well, we are talking to you now in the university radio station, that has potential to generate more revenue outside institutions. I'm not looking direct, but I'm just highlighting some of the key things. We have got existing buildings of the institution that are there that we could actually commercialize and do more. We've got aspects of the institution, your farms, etc. So I don't want to provoke thoughts, but I'm just saying those are the things that we could convert it into that particular businesses. We've got research, innovation, invention. That is the area that everyone is looking at us going to. And indeed, in this quarter, we are going to that particular area. I can rest assure you. Why I'm saying that is because we need to commercialize the research outputs. The research that is done by our researchers in the institution, we need to patent it and then be able to commercialize. But when you look at the face value, you think it could be something that is much more easier. You know, some of the low-hanging fruit are not very that low-hanging. So we need to conceptualize. We rush some of the things, of course, in terms of commercialization, but we realize that it needed time. We need to conceptualize the people. So we have mastered the art of games now, of some of the low-hanging fruit who are not low-hanging. And we are going for particular things. And they're making inroads with our researchers in the engineering, science, humanities, almost all faculties in the Center for Entrepreneurship, we are receiving very serious joy. And then we are glad that our colleagues actually are beginning to realize the importance of generating the practical income in the institution. So we have also the student and youth innovation. That is the focal area dedicated for students and youth. All the youth that have got ideas, all the youth that have got business concepts, some of them have already came forth to the enterprise. You are working with them. Not necessarily mention what we are doing, but they came forth to the enterprise. We do mentorship, we do coaching, we assist them to package proposals, we assist them to get funding, etc., etc. When we start launching all these focal areas I'm talking about, we will be launching it in style because we'll be having people who are already in the industry. And we are calling upon the institution to open doors to those young entrepreneurs or young emerging entrepreneurs who have already came out with a shown interest in this particular regard. So those are the people that also touches our alumni. We wanted them to come with a business venture. So those are the people that also touches our alumni. We wanted them to come with a business venture without any idea, but we are able then to fine tune some of the ideas and assist those particular students to do. So we're also looking into the tutor consulting. Quality consulting is already established as a division. It's up and running. It's led by Mr. Berthwell 007. It's on the ground as we speak. We are looking into this area of water purification plants. We're looking very extensively in the energy sector. Have been collaborated with one of our collaborations in Germany. We have collaborated with our colleagues in Italy. So there's a whole lot of work in government. There's a whole lot of work that is coming through in that. Unfortunately, Peter must emphasize some of the criticisms we have suffered and some of the negative publicity we have suffered as the enterprise was unnecessary to us a little bit back. But it is necessary now because we need to respond on some of the misperception and misunderstanding. That's why we are coming forth. But we are launching all of those particular focal areas in a very good style. So it's going to be very nice. We are also looking as I indicated, the TUTEH properties. We are not going to touch much on that. We are also looking into financial services. You would appreciate that the financial services division is very broad. And that's the dominant, one of the dominant business sector in this country. You can't overlook it. The insurance sector, life, short and long-term insurances. We are looking at your medical aid schemes. We are looking at your TUTEH, capital, that's the UNS, so that we can able then to deal with some of the things. We are developing a TRS platform with a disbursement module in it, so that we get rid of all the manual processes in future in the Tshwane investor sector. So those are our focal areas that are coming forth. I think I covered quite a lot of them, but there are 9, 10 in total, and then we are launching them in stages. We're not going to launch them all together. You understand that the startup businesses, you need one business to pull the other one and also in that particular mode. So that is why we have to focus on this one. You get it. And if I may tell you, we are doing all of these things with a very less capacity of staff of the enterprise. We have now developed what you call a T-Digital. It's a platform. It's a development platform. All the platforms that you are looking, watch the Facebook kit. All platforms in this country are going to come from T-Digital. The TRS platform that we are talking about comes from. Now, let me tell you the good story to that. All the people or the employees who are there are TUT graduates. All of them. We have recruited them from ISEC. ISEC is an internship program from the Faculty of ICT run by Mr Nkululeko. And then we have recruited those populations. It's very amazing. Look, if you think that those kids are from very serious industries or somewhere, no. They just came directly from TUT ISEC program. They are with us now. But what they are developing in kids is very amazing. So watch the space about those kids. We are also customizing an online platform for the short courses. We have learned very, very seriously through the COVID-19 we've learned a very bad way. But all other platforms that we've ever seen in the history of the short filming program, developed by TUT products.
Interesting.
TUT products.
Interesting.
This university is doing amazing in TV. That we talk less about it. But that's why we are here for, to ensure that we tell the nation what we are capable of. When we say in Kitty, we are the number one investor of technology in the continent, I now can confirm and attest to that. Indeed, we are number one. Look at the Forest platform now. We have already begun our roadshows. We are educating our landlords. We are in Gombela tomorrow. We'll be in Malasheni. We'll be in Pulukwane, coming back to Pretoria. All stakeholders. From there, we're going to educate our user acceptance to the students. We get all the SRC, we get all the residence committee members. Everyone would know how to utilize the platform as a cutting-edge technology. That platform, indeed, we have never seen in this country. First time.
Now having interesting. Now having started of recent with the first phase of one of your focus or the two of the focus points, what has been the response from the clients, from the public, but also what are some of the things that you have learned about the space that you are jumping into? Any progress with regards to that?
Mokete, the TUTEH platform alone, we have launched it while we were in the lockdown. We have launched it during this pandemic. I'm telling you now that the people who have landed into our page are about 20,000 success stories. It tells you how impactful are we as a TUTEH enterprise. That's what it tells, what impactful are we as a TUTEH enterprise. The short learning programs that we have delivered and offered, very interesting. Very interesting. So that is why it shows. Not so long ago, we have been pronounced as one of the universities we have maintained who has what you call, or have been noted by government to run some of the FMG programs. It also demonstrates the capacity of what we are doing as that particular institution. So indeed, you are very good. And then the stories that you are learning from that particular angle is very interesting. And we are continuing also to engage in order for us as a TUTEH enterprise to learn more of what is expected by industry. That's very important about it.
Interesting. 38 minutes have gone now since the hour 7 o'clock. We're going to take a short break. After this short break, when we come back, we're opening the lines on 083, that is 208 8851. We're checking your comments. Otherwise, on WhatsApp is 082 538 5810. That is 083 208 8851 for calls when we come back after this short break. And after that, that is 082 538 5810 on WhatsApp for voice notes. Alternatively, you can just hit us up on Facebook. This one is Space FM Space 93.6. And on YouTube is Mokete Radebe. Do check Mokete Radebe as well on Facebook. I'm checking some of your comments there and those calls there. Mr. Mapang, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from the listeners. And I'm hopeful that there's no calls because I think you were quite clear. But let's take this short break, and when we come back, we continue to hear from our people at home. Here's KO on this one. He's featuring Nandi Mngoma. It's a song titled Skanda Love.
Nothing can come between us. I know my best was shot on the water. Tell me, let me hold you down. Baby, let me hold you down. Oh, it's such a love. Let me show you how much you want over now. We're so alive. Yes, fella, espono no samanini yegele. Swidini nigga bonko mo kwami yadi yelede. Upa jelenge, dela neskepe. See it relele, desinai. I will labo pari bebe cheme. Ishalenge sentelene ninyazu gutu shalo. Sumun to dala west. Sunyuga nam logo hereza opando. So push I'm blessed cause you're the one I guess it people love to live as a gila senses for me wonderful. Nothing can come between us. I know this was rock on the water. Tell me that. Let me hold you down. Baby, let me hold you down. Oh, such a love. Let me show you how much you want over now. We're so alive. Yeah. Treat you like every day's Valentine's fellas I totally whip me Nigella night. And I said that I would never set it down, never mind. I guess the heart is ahead of time is to keep a paradigms. Now I'm up here, a dime came into my life and really shifted the paradigm. Pumalanga cigar till she hella fine. 19 is still them die, ding in the spread blind. Cheer, she turns me on when she acts like that. But she gets a little excited. I'm Muzitos Akdala. Wanna know about my XYZ? Kanana XYZ. No, man, just know that I will never hurt you. And by virtue of that, you deserve shoes and perfumes. I'm giving you my word, boo. No side dish, you my main course. I'll never desert you. Nothing can come between us. I know my best was rock on the water. Tell me that. Let me hold you down. Baby, let me hold you down. Oh, it's such a love. Let me show you how much you want over now. We're so alive. Tinta mano me, tinta mano me, bambala. Yeah, so no me sweetie, no me. So no me sweetie, no me. Tabala, tabala. Tinta mano me, tinta mano me, bambala. Yeah, so no me sweetie, no me. Tabala, tabala. Because the gangsta love. Nothing can come between us. I know my best was rocking on the water. I know my best was rocking on the water. Tell me now. Let me hold you down. Baby, let me hold you down. Oh, you're such a love. Let me show you how much you want over now. We're so alive. Gangsta love. Gangsta. Oh, gangsta love, gangsta. Ooh.
43 minutes have gone since the hour 7 o'clock, and yeah, man, that is Gangsta Love by none other than Nandim Goma.
Became a historical mistake which came out of Robben Island. It is extremely disappointing every time you open to your mouth to speak here. That which you thought you represent, you have abandoned. You can't ask the question, who are your people? Because the National Democratic Revolution answers that question. It says the motive forces that stands to benefit from the victories of this revolution. Those are our went to prison for.
This is Tshwane FM 93.6. 93.6. Tshwane FM 93.6.
45 minutes have gone since the hour 7 o'clock. Mr Nkululeko Berthwell still with us on the line. Mapang, it appears as though that your presentation was quite clear. I'm checking just on our social media platforms. There seems to be no question. Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Here's one question. Tommy Ray says, why are student communes close to campus not infused in this TUTEH program? This is Tommy Ray. Is there a specific reason why the communes that are close to the campus are not being, adopted by the enterprise?
Well, the enterprise is working very tirelessly develop a model that is going to inclusively accommodate the communes outside campus. We have met with the associations, we have received their memorandum. Immediately after that, we are setting up the meetings to come to that. You would appreciate to look into that. We are acting on behalf of the policy that are developed by the institution on accreditation. And the policy statement is very clear, and also forms part of the NSFAS guidelines. On the university-owned as a matter of priority, the university list, the university accreditation, as well as the private list. Now, the policy that of the institution prescribes on a minimum that we're talking about the communes and townships and the closer to come, we're talking about your 2-bedroom at the back, the 4-bedroom at the back, which does not fall within the policy as prescribed by the university. We have made a call to the university. This marks a change management program. In our change management program meetings that we have had, we shared by the VC, Mr. Ndawati is part of it, Dr. Caroline Select, and myself, and then the CEO of the TUTEH Enterprise is part of that. We have already put forth one of the key things that we need to look into is that the TUTEH baby was not well conceived, or even if it's conceived, its practical conceiving is not here yet. You need to then change policies to accommodate TUTEH's existence. All the university policies were adopted prior to TUTEH. The only policy that was adopted by the university was the preference income policy, which was then mainly influenced by the birth and existence of TUTEH. So now the policies that are there are not reflecting the existence of the birth of TUTEH. Therefore, it becomes problematic or it prohibits some of the things to happen. We are going for a review of the accreditation policy of the institution to look and accommodate those particular communities. But we need to form some form of consensus with them. They organize themselves in form of associations. This is correct. We even said in our deliberation that if anyone would want to benefit to the economy that the university has created in whatever form, in any campuses, and it happens to be us as the professor, we will open that door. That's what we have said in the number of principles. So we're going to look at the number of policy reviewers to include TUTEH, not only the accreditation one, short learning program, the SLP policy is underway, it has to be approved. I think if it was anything, it should have been approved by now. But there are quite a lot of areas that are driven by policies that we need to review this particular policy. So the communes are at our number one agenda priority. Indeed, we are engaging with them. There's RASA, the Social Association. We are looking at that. We have not even looked at that only. We are also looking at the transport system. Our application also has transport that goes to campus. We want to regulate the transport system. We want to develop a model that there shall be no students who reside in any of our residences and will be left behind by a pastor. Of course, it cannot be overnight, but those are ideas that we have. We've engaged the transport division of the institution logistics, Vanessa Ranjit's environment. We are on the process of ensuring that we integrate the TUTEH as well as the university transport. So we integrate quite a lot. We have a very series of workshops on the business process engineering on how to then synthesize all the processes, both universities as well as the TUTEH processes. And we have got a student accommodation policy which does not talk to TUTEH. We are now looking into that, into workshops, series of workshops. And as far as processes, we want to integrate it and want to automate it into our online platform. So there's a series of events that are taking place. So we are consulting very broadly and wide, and the students themselves, they are also consulted in this particular. Indeed, we are looking at the issue of community very seriously. I can rest assure you that we are looking at it very seriously, and that is why the Congress or the colleagues of the communes are well receiving this presentation, because indeed we are going to look into their issues. We have already acknowledged their community guys, this is a new thing. This is the policy. This is where we are going. This is our vision. How do we fit in that? We are talking about the area and spatial development. One of the focal areas that I'm not committed talking about, the development of prisons in the Pretoria West campuses and social media. Our idea is how do we influence the community and the university to reflect our thinking? Because universities are cornerstones of transformation. That's where knowledge is. Those are knowledge reservoirs. We don't want to be influenced by community, but the community must resemble the knowledge that we are cultivating to the top of students. So we are doing it in all forms. Academia, student accommodation, on the prison development, any other small businesses in that top-line institution, it shall benefit on the economic development as I indicated. So no one will be closed out that, but we are calling upon the universities as well to assist us in some of the things. I'll give you a practical example in the Mokete.
Yeah.
You know that we transact through the food processes in this current situation. You'd imagine now that food has dispersed, I don't know, over 100 machines or merchandise. Now, and you'd appreciate that those merchandise are not South African manufactured. You know, they're imported from India. Now, when they are damaged or when they require service, it takes a couple of times. Now, how many back rooms do we have in this surrounding communities? Now, we'd only be able then to disperse 1,000 merchandise just to transact for only 2 or 4 students. Those are the things that you are saying. It should not necessarily be wrong to raise that discussion. But let's say, how do we then address that particular issue? Because it's something that might harm us in the near future. You know what I mean? So
interesting.
That we are dealing with.
Just a comeback question from Tomire. He says, what happens to students that have been staying at non-accredited facilities or comments and are now recently NEFSA's approved students? What happens if they are comfortable and happy to proceed with their stay on these facilities? What advice would that be? And I think that the fundamental point there as well is, if you look at communities like Soshanguve, your Emalahleni, I think there's been students, or your Polokwane, where the students would say that in the area that we're in, we're very far from developed, buildings. We've been staying in the bedrooms. Is that something that is viable in this instance?
Well, of course, as mentioned, the different areas of the student accommodation category. The fourth one is the private list. It's those type of students who want to remain at Makoko, and then they sign that particular private list application, and then they take it to NSFAS, and NSFAS is able to make their money. The challenge that we are encountering also is that the very same landlords are the ones who are complaining to say students who are private lists, when given their money, they don't pay.
Sure.
They complain that they've not received the money. They can't verify. So it's a two-way traffic. It requires high level of honesty.
Mr. Mapanga, we seem to be losing you there. Hello?
Is that the ones that are privately, they get their money directly to their bank accounts. They don't go via food. So you cannot contain and monitor the payment model. So that's where the problem is. The landlords themselves, they don't want that model. They don't want that setup. They want to accredit. So that is why it's not like there are no people in those particular bedrooms or in those particular rooms. There are those people there. But these landlords themselves, they feel that they want to participate in a manner in which other accredited facilities are participating, so they can able them to charge an X amount of money standard and commonly with other ones. Unfortunately, the students there are the ones to determine how much they want to pay in that account, and the money is with them. So those options are there. The 4 options are there. We have released students now to go stay wherever they want to stay. And then even when our accredited facilities are not yet full in their entirety, but we did allow that option for those who want to stay independently to their bedrooms or where they've been staying for a very long time. We are not going to close down or shut down or ignore those particular communities. They've been there to us, not long before the concept of co-accreditation ever existed. We have been there. I'm the subject of some of those. I'm the beneficiary of those communities. Back in 2005, when there was no accreditation, we never even thought accreditation would look like this. But of course, we appreciate the evolution of times. That is why we said we must be integrated. We even took a step back because if you look into the policies and the guidelines on how we should accredit them, some of them may not qualify because we have strict measures into that. You need a secured environment for the student. Some of them may not have that secured environment. You need certain things, your Wi-Fi, you need certain things such as your school meter as prescribed by the norms of by DHED, etc. So those are existing structures. They may not necessarily possess all of these things that are required. But what then do we do? We can't shut them out. We need to integrate. We even wanted to go as far as lobbying as the enterprise. NetBank was interested, and any other banking industry and the financial sector were interested to come put up a capital that will assist renovating all of those particular rooms to be at the standard what we are looking for. Remember, we said it's a matter of human dignity. You can't just throw students there at a bank, yet we can't also close them up. So we need to strike a balance. That is why we got those engagement. Because you cannot compromise us on the safety of the students. You know, Mokete, what is happening in those townships. You don't appreciate the situation whereby there's a room this side and there's a tavern next to it. And there's been a setup for a very long time. And then you ask their told, that is our income. Understanding the South African economy. That's our income. What do we do? The student is only 3. They give us 3,000 rand. This one is able to bring food on the table. Our kids are in universities, etc. So we need to balance all of those type of things. So the real thing that we are faced with is not as easy as people think we are just shutting them down as a matter of fact, shutting them. No. We are engaging as to how then do we come to realize all of those particulars. But we cannot do it ourselves only. We need the investors to come on board. We must also commend Professor Nkululeko here in some of this engagement. We studied social visit. Professor Nkululeko was there at social visit when these things were up by the late Mike Maile, who was leading that particular forum in association social visit. I was there in attendance. So we listened to them.
Interesting.
And we're paving the way forward. Unfortunately, some of the discussions were interrupted by the COVID-19 because we were locked down. So we could not necessarily resume. But now that the country is relaxing some of the regulations, indeed, that is one of our preoccupations. I must say that it's a headache, but it's something that needs to be done. Unfortunately, it has to be resolved.
Interesting. 59 after 7 o'clock. I'm going to let you go because of time. But a very quick one. If I'm listening now and I'm someone who has a property as well as for student accommodation, is there opportunities for me to partner with a university? What are the platforms? How do I get in touch with you guys? What are the requirements for that as well? Just short and sharp.
Well, of course, it comes to that. One of the things that we have tried to emphasize, although we received a whole lot of criticism on that, our model is discharged by the institution, so by the TUTEH enterprise. We have been testing it on the ground. It's not perfectly working well, but of course, it takes quite a lot of things because we are learning this particular model. And of course, we appreciate now that there's some studies that are undertaken in the institution would also assist in shaping our thoughts on how to move forward into this particular thing. As like I said, the collaborative company is part of our business model. We would have loved to collaborate in all means possible with any other entities, but it takes a whole lot for it to be what the model must also speaks to. You will appreciate that our majority of our landlords, Mokete, are leasing these properties from certain owners. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
And we appreciate that. We appreciate that. We never went being strict, but we appreciate that. But of course, the changing equity model requires direct ownership to be engaging. And you think that it's only 4 or 5 who have engaged and just agree with. We have engaged plus or minus 100 of them. Some of them we could not agree. And they brought up peaceful because they realized that the model, as we have conceptualized it, It's not as easy as one would have thought it is. But we are keeping on pursuing each other. But of course, there will be some lessons drawn from this because now we are closing out our module. We will be doing what we call a close analysis based on the partners that we have had and move on to moving forward, whether it's sustainable, the way in which we have envisaged before, or we need to pivot our strategy so that we ensure that the investment does not get to be committed into that. And now one of the things that we don't know about us, is not the direct links like the normal links agreement that the investment used to do. This is what we call a cost recovery list. So what we do, we pay for the beds that are occupied. We don't pay for empty beds, irrespective of the building. That's the model that we are also paying. So the investment does not incur costs. So that's how we have improved the model. As opposed to previously, because we've gone on tender, we have appointed people, so in which you are committed, you are liable, 100%. So this one, because we are a JV equity partner, but on a cost recovery model, we are not liable and responsible for the MPP. That's how we structured our model. I think we deserve a round of applause on that, because that's where we knew our investors lost a couple of friends in that particular model. But of course,
let us give you a round of applause for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up. So just a quick one. Tommy Ray says, when are they coming back to us? Because we have been sending emails with non-responses. Hence, RSA will be protesting this week in regards to this. I'm not quite sure if this is definitely directed to the TUTEH Enterprise Holdings or perhaps to the university. Is there something directed to the Enterprise Holdings?
I did not get a question. Why are they coming back to us? Meaning us, the enterprise or the students?
The students, and he says it actually is directed to the TUTEH Enterprise Holding. It seems they've sent you guys emails. They are the students who are staying in the communes.
Okay, I don't think I got the question quite well, but I was saying there are students here.
So they've sent you guys emails and they have not received responses. So this is students that are staying
in relation to the housing association.
It appears so.
Yeah, well, in the housing association, I personally called, like I said, I'm in Bombela, in the QRS Expo to educate landlords. But the leader of the association called Ralph, I called him personally. Today, and even yesterday, I can show you now that I'm going to call you now to say, we are here, but we have received the email was first directed to the university. And of course, we appreciate that we are preparing for a resumption of the academic activities in Mokete. It's a whole lot of things, It's not like we are ignorant, but we need to also prepare for the resumption of the very own students that are involved and in line with the regulations of the fixed criteria on who should come back and not. So that on its own is a nightmare. Well, if that is the case, I don't know if any other, but I'll check my emails now, but that was not done in paper. But the one that I know, they signed the document, I called them, and they are communicating with them, and they're happy. I know for a fact that they might not be the one asking this particular question. The Association of Social Movement, I also learned that the RASA in Pretoria West and the Association of Social Movement, they joined hands, so they are a collective. So I'm not sure if there's any other association that I do not know of. So that one we've been responding to them.
Okay,
they know where we are.
No, they're saying this one is RSA. They'll be striking this week. It's both Philip Nel and Soshanguve. They have not been responded to. Perhaps you might want to look into that quite quickly.
That they've joined hands together. I've been talking to one of the guys who said he's leading them. And I've known about them. So it could possibly be one of their members whom they may not necessarily receive information in relation to the network development. Yes, indeed, it may not necessarily responded by email, but I spoke to them over the phone. I spoke to the guy I spoke to was able to get some information to the leader of that RSA, and indeed we will be responding by. We have already agreed on the meeting. We're just looking into the possible date so that we can have a discussion around that.
Interesting, Mr. Mapam. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us today. Due to time, we'll have to end it here. We hope that you'll come back next time to also educate us about this TRES app. We don't want to be left behind.
Definitely, this marks the beginning of our change management program. We have taken upon ourselves that we are not going to sit back in our closet and wonder why our people, why our stakeholders are so up in arms from us. Perhaps we've done the stakeholder making, we've done close analysis. We now understand what the problems are, and we are coming now with solutions. That's what we are doing differently into this particular discussion, and that marks the beginning of this particular conversation. So as soon we have already engaged the chairperson of council, who is very keen in the change management program. They agreed with us. We just need to line up sort of our dates properly, and then the university should preempt and give in every program and platform of the university. There must be a preamble of TUTEH. There must be an inclusion of TUTEH in each and every policies that are commercial in nature, as prescribed by the tax-free income policy of the institution. So these are the things that we are going to go to do. And we are very clear that we have spoken to the chair of council. That is what is going to happen, and we're doing it collectively. The VC is keen into that. We are prepared into this particular. There will be some changes in our approach in the next coming few weeks. When we reopen, there will be a couple of changes. We will be representing a united front between the two enterprises, as well as the University Council and UNC, all other structures of the institution. And share information, of course, including our alumni. That is why we give you today. You will be surprised. Over 100,000 people will be tuning into your screen in various angles. But questions will not necessarily come. Not necessarily there's no attack. Clarity is at best. This is what we need to do, and we'll begin doing that. And we'll continue doing that. I thank you.
Mr. Mapanga, thank you so much. Good evening, sir. So you provided clarity. 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, that was Mr. Nkululeko Berthwell. He's the communications manager at the TUTEH Enterprise Holding. This is where we leave it today. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. It's a great evening from me to you, Momaratos. Have a great evening, Tshwane. Pebble City Nights is coming through between now until midnight.
And one thing I've realized, if a Zulu guy has to explain to you, he will make sure that you understand every line. But Umpedi, he wants you to read between the lines. He doesn't care whether you understand or not. Because if a Zulu guy was beating someone, who's not telling us, you're for it. Uthe uthi uyangibuka nje ngabona ukuthi kukhona okushaya amanzi. Hayi ngathukuthela. Ngambamba kanje ngamhlanganisa nodonga. Ngamshaya kanje. Wawela phansi, ngamvuza. Ngamhlanganisa nodonga. Ngamshaya kanje. Balamulo makhi kanti ke ngibizi ngaye ngashaya. But a very guy, he lets it all to like a real. The best.
Tshwane FM 93.6.
Now, do remember that the antiretrovirals do save lives, so do tune into the Capital Talk on Thursday, the 17th of September at 7:15 p.m. to listen to me, Mr. Mokete Radebe, as I chat with Dr. Nightingale Putuka from the Zenzele Welcome Back campaign about HIV and ARVs, serving the community, keeping you and those that you love healthy. Tshwane, it's a great evening to you, and thank you so much for your listening pleasure. Make sure that we are together on that Thursday at about 7:15 p.m. as we speak about ARVs.
Sing a
Sibuya Kola, Elokshini, Pilos, to Strangida, Namasino Wet, says Yawakoka. That's a bong Amandozi, Bunkum Yamasena, Jamandoni, Madapeti Mali, Agasaboni, Ingako, Ready go see. Oh, I saw Amandozi, Bunkum Yamasena, Jamandoni, Madapeti Mali,